DCE's contract saga. Now, a lot going on, we know that. Does it have the capabilities of entering the Queensland camp and derailing that at all, do you think, or is that...
Wash your mouth out.
Well, Cooper thinks so. Here it is on the back page of the Courier Mail. So there's, normally Queensland don't do this to their own.
You don't normally have to address it when you're in there, but it'll be the elephant in the room, like where you're going, especially Lindsay Collins or whatever. But someone's got to make it a joke. That's where Alfie's always been good in camp, but then make it a joke, present him a Roosters jersey or a Bulldogs jersey or whatever, and get on with it. You know what I mean? But it shouldn't derail a State of Origin.
No, I think Daly's such a professional as the captain. I think the bigger issue, Braith, is this game coming up this weekend. Tom Dearden has been playing out of his skin, and Daly, in a Manly side that has been beaten at Fortress Brookvale in the last 3 games, he hasn't been anywhere near his best. Yeah. There is an argument that you could pick Tom Dearden ahead of Daly on form. However, then you look at everything that he's done in a Queensland jumper and the fact that he's the captain, and you know that Billy Slater will probably remain loyal.
What's your opinion on DC with Queensland?
I go back to the point of the decision being made in relation to deciding that he didn't want to be at Manly beyond this season. I go back then and think about his comments in relation to wanting to do everything in the utmost for the Manly Seagulls to try and get the most out of this season, including winning the premiership. And for me, playing State of Origin impacts that goal of what he vowed to do at the Seagulls.
So he shouldn't be playing.
I don't think he should be there. But I can understand why he is. It's representative football. I get it. But you can't have it both ways. You can't. At 36 years of age.
Because I heard through the week that he doesn't know who he signed for, a bloke that spoke to DCE, and he said he hadn't made up his mind. So who is he going to?
He'll be at the Roosters, Gordon.
Definitely.
He'll be at the Roosters.
Yeah.
But are you saying that he shouldn't play for the benefit of Manly, or he shouldn't play for the benefit of Queensland?
Are we going to sit here and not think it's not going to be the first question that journalists ask when he enters Maroons camp next week?
Are you going to be there?
Fingers crossed.
Ask him?
but seriously, is it not going to be? I know it's the elephant in the room,
and that's your job to ask.
The Queensland coaching staff will tell you this will be the best thing ever for Daly Cherry-Evans because it takes him into our camp, under our umbrella. We'll protect him, and it'll, to Hoops' point, he's so experienced, and it'll free him up. I don't know if he's playing. Is he playing good enough football? Is he getting there on his legacy only at this point in time?
Maybe.
On the last month of football, you would say yes. Yeah. Absolutely, you would.
Maybe, but his legacy is pretty good in that jersey.
No doubt.
He'd feel more comfortable going to Queensland camp.
Absolutely.
With what's going on at Manly, he's probably thinking, you know what, this is a good break for me, right?
You make a great point, Braith, because off the back of that loss to Cronulla last Sunday, there has been a lot of noise around that. There's worse than splinters in the Manly camp. There's a real divide. There is a real divide, and it all centres, goes back to that decision that he made on live television. The club was blindsided, and there's been a massive flow-on effect.
What's the divide, Hoops? What have you heard?
Well, I think some players are just struggling.
Senior players?
Yeah, of course, senior players, yeah.
Okay.
Some players are struggling, and they believe that that decision has essentially derailed their season.
Which is what we thought may happen, right? We all thought that at the time it may happen.
Yeah, and we discussed it on the show. And looking on current form, you'd have to say that that's the way that it is tracking.
If I put my foot in DC's, but how's that going to change if I say, well, I'm going to go to that club? How's it going to change? You're still leaving them.
Well, you blokes played though, Gordy. You played. Yeah. How would you feel if one of your teammates did what Daly did at the start of the season?
Well, Wendell did it, and I was gutted. Like Wendell promised us, we're all sitting around in a group, I'm going to stay, then he went to rugby union, right? And you do feel gutted. The senior guys that are really close do feel a little bit hurt when they lose, and I suppose the Bulldogs with Sonny Bill Williams, there might have been that feeling, right? The Melbourne Storm with Cooper Cronk, there would have been that feeling. But the sooner that they would have addressed it, right? Yeah. But I don't know whether he coming out and saying, I'm going to that, is going to ease the pain.
Even if he doesn't come out and say anything, which he hasn't clearly, it all comes back to form. It all comes back to showing your teammates that you're willing to rip in every single week. Now, we saw the really good performance against the Panthers and then the nowhere performance against the Sharks, right? And he has to show his teammates that he's willing to rip and tear for Manly. At this point in time, I can understand why the teammates are going, hang on a sec, are you in or you're out? The big one's this Saturday night. If he flops and Dearden fires, What do you think the questions will be going into camp next week?
Do we totally agree with you? But I think regardless of the result, he's going to be there and Dearden's going to be 14, right? That's what's going to happen.
Which I got to say.
I do have a question. Go on.
Well, I got to say, and you know, people say, well, you blokes are coming from a New South Wales point of view, but Queensland, they did lose last year's series.
Yes.
So it's not like coming off a winning series and you need to be loyal to that particular group of players.
Which leads me to this, and I'd love to get your opinion on this. Game 1, Suncorp Stadium, DCE's picked at 7, they lose the game. Is that his last Origin game?
How does he play?
Average.
That's the question.
Average. What if he plays average?
It might
Well,
be.
because the odds are he's
It
not...
might be because you never own the jersey. Like, you ran it for a long time. People deserve it for the next crack, I believe, but you never, ever, ever own a rep jersey. You always just borrow it for the time being and add to it. So anybody playing for Queensland, if you don't go out there and perform, well, it could be your last.
Because there's a lot more to this, right?
Yep.
His situation at Clubland, his age, they lost last series, they lose game 1 at home.
Yep.
You know, maybe
Valid
there's
points.
a change of the guard, right?
Yep. And there's the age and there's that whole, you know, this going around now. Like, of course, and I'm sure Billy Slater, he's paid for these decisions. He'll make the right ones. And we're lucky that we got someone like Tommy Dearden that is shooting the lights out. Whether he's ready to run the state and put on the number 7 jersey, it's a great jersey for our state. Who knows? But, you know, he's going to be thrown in there at some stage.
Gee, it sets up to be a big game for him then, doesn't it, if that's the case, really? When you peel it all back and look at it from the
Yes.
outside looking in, the reality is this could be
You guys are
his
getting me
last
worried
Origin
now.
game ever.
Well, it starts this weekend when he's got the shootout against Tommy Dearden. If Tommy plays the way that he has been playing over the course of the last month, it's going to be very hard, right? But then, to your point, Braith, if Queensland do lose the opening game and Daly is only average, then you would have to think that it's a decision Billy Slater probably has to make.
One of the biggest games of his career in that context, right? Really is, in that context, because if he does not fire, there's no doubt, Gordy, I've got no doubt Tom Dearden, like, he's ready to go. Ready to go
Yeah,
as
well,
the
last
next
time he got
Queensland
called up, he
playmaker.
went there, he was one of our best players, and he's
Outstanding.
got someone like Cameron Munster. He didn't play last year,
Yep.
right? And we really missed him. So having someone with that experience would certainly help.
The fact that Billy Slater is considering Kurt Mann as a utility option on his Maroons bench,
Kurt Mann.
yeah.
Wow.
So Kurtman and Dearden on the bench.
Well, that's the catch, right? So Kurt's, you know, such a valuable utility for the Dogs. The Dogs have a huge opinion of Kurt Mann. But to our conversation in and around DCE's future, if there is a dip there, you've got a ready-made utility in Kurt Mann. You can
Is that
start.
good mail you got?
Yeah,
okay.
I'll back myself, bro.
I don't know, I like it. I'm just saying, because people are watching this going, really? Kurt Mann, Dearden, I'm thinking the same thing. That's solid mail.
It's a small, to your point, you probably think it's a pretty small bench,
It
right?
is, right? Who are the next two? Who are the other two?
I would think Lindsay Collins and Ruben Cotter come into the frame on the bench.
Not a big bench.
No. Small, mobile, fast feet through the middle. That's the belief, I understand. Certainly there's a lot of football to be played this weekend. Kurt obviously has to get through injury-free. I've heard Beau Fermor's name come up as well as a bench option. So, look, but my point is that bench spot of the Maroons, the number 14, it's suddenly a little bit more open with a Kurt Mann there.